So here I'm going to use R to visualize the F distribution with different degrees of freedom. Like I talk elsewhere, you can use R not only to practice your programming and visualization and everything, but it gives you a lot of ability to plug in different numbers, basically, calculate things and see how things look. You play around with it. That really helps you understand the distribution. F is weird because it has a different hump shape depending on two sets of degrees of freedom, like there's N and M. You would basically look in a book back in the day and you would open it up to 95%, which is what we're doing here, and then you see the specific number for your combination of degrees of freedom. I'm going to run this because it's going to take a little while, but I'm running it with all combinations of 1 to 15. So it starts out with the first one being 1, it goes up to 15, and then it'll go to 2 and so forth. I also calculate the 95% critical value, and you can see that this would match what you saw in the book. And it moves. It depends on those degrees of freedom. It looks sometimes more humpy and sometimes not. If you run the code yourself, you can see it maybe at your own speed, or you can plug in a certain number and get that combination. So this is a double loop. I set K at 15 just because it takes a little while to run. You could try 25 or more. It's a double loop for 1 to 15 for both. So we can see it's already at 6, then it goes from 1 to 15, then it'll go to 7, 1 to 15, and so forth. This is randomly simulated data. It's randomly generated, a million observations. I do a histogram with 1,000 bins, 1,000 breaks, excuse me, and show the probability on each side. I've got my limits, which match the real data, and then I've got a nice title, basically pasting the degrees of freedom as you go, and it's a green for whatever reason, because that's what I use for the chart. So I make random data, make a histogram of it, I'm plotting the histogram. So it's not quite the theoretical curve, but it's close. And then I've got, my critical value there as my vertical AB line, right? Specific green at the width of 3. And then I put the legend, like I said, and it's pacing that. And I'm just running through the loop. All right, and again, more time, more computing power. You can go as high as you want, but we're actually seeing this hump kind of as the degrees of freedom change. And as the degrees of freedom similar, that hump becomes more centered here, right? I've got a lot of dead space here. You can see it's much less skewed. All right, but that's a loop just showing the F distribution, and the animation shows how it changes based on those degrees of freedom. So again, playing around while putting in different values allows you to visualize the concepts in a better way. You actually understand the stats, but using R to do so allows you to practice all these things, right? The visualization as well as regenerating random variables, running a loop, right? All the things you've learned as can be applied to help you learn the statistics, right? So we're doing those two things at once, the stats and the R tools.